Okay, next up is The Kids Are All Right, and this is one of the best films of the year, and it has one of the best performances by Annette Benning. Now, of course, forget the whole 1979, Who reference or whatever. This is, you don't want to call them, these kids are the product of an entirely new generation. We call them the Freezies or the Frosties. They're the result, of course, of insemination. I know you guys are already cringing, yada yada yada, that word. But anyway, this film is just fantastic. The two kids in this film are at the heart of Lisa Cholodenko's, I can never pronounce that name, latest release, are the progeny of lesbian parents who were inseminated by an anonymous donor. When the movie opens up, we're watching Joni Mia Wasikowska, of course, Alice in Alice in Wonderland, really coming into her own as an actress in this film, hanging out with her high school friends in a typical teenage bedroom. The soft natural light streams through the windows, yada 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 yada. The element of purity and innocence, but the conversation is stiff with sexual overtones, immediately cranking up the tension in the somewhat, I could say, revolutionary family comedy, if you want to call it that. Not family in the sense where families can see it, just families are involved. It's a good beat to start on because The Kids Are All Right is all about rites of passage and the many threats lurking just below the surface, waiting just to pull the naive and the oblivious into the abyss of unwelcome experience. It's also about how those entered into middle age may enter a second childhood that seems to seeks to mend betrayals, I guess is the proper term. This movie really is well within its characters, and that is what I love about any film. And we usually call this a midlife crisis type of character we put in this film, but yet sewing labels into the characters of this film, it'd be wrong. I mean, it's just not as cut and dry as it sounds. Now, the director who reintroduced Ali Sheedy in high art and recreated Frances McDormand's on-screen persona in the not-so-good but yet interesting, at least, Laurel Canyon, has a knack for creating of intriguingly intelligent and human characters that we never see in a mainstream film. Now, The Kids Are All Right is no different. Leading up the cast in this smart and witty comedy, of course, as I mentioned before, is Annette Benning, along with Julianne Moore, who is great in her own right, but Benning really shines above all here. She really takes this character and gives it more of a heart than it has any right to have. Also, you got Mark Ruffalo, a very underrated actor in my opinion, who is famous, but it doesn't get the recognition he deserves. But he was very good in Shutter Island earlier this year. And we're not sure, of course, the entire family diagram in the early scenes, but that comes into play in enough. Now, of course, we learn that Joni is on the cusp of adulthood, and the fact that makes her, little brother, Lacer, played by Josh Hutcherson, a little jealous. At first, we think it has everything to do with yearning for experience, but we soon learn later that Lacer is looking for answers and needs Joni's help. Now that she's a bona fide adult, that they need to seek a little journey, of course, and it's not as typical as it sounds, but it's still fun. She wants to access her birth records they want to both access their birth records, to obtain the identity of the sperm donor who gave her two moms of family, or their two moms of family, Well, without turning the movie into a whole psychodrama about the ups and downs of tracing a biological connection, Cholodenko dives into the next dilemma. The kids meet their mysterious father in the first 20 minutes, and when it turns out to be the kind, handsome Joni Mitchell-loving Paul, played by Ruffalo, an organic chef, gardener, and restaurateur, the whole family dynamic begins to cycle backwards. For starters, the two women who've been able to control their kids' reality and self-understanding for the past 20 years are suddenly yanked out of the cockpit and replaced by a strange man. And for these two ultra-feminist and proudly out parents, the entrance of a man into their family unit is greeted with clenched teeth and a smile, which, they want this to work out, but they just don't like the circumstances behind it. Now, when you have a cast this talented, you got to make sure you write the characters right for them, and that's exactly what's happening here. This is why this film was so enjoyable. It avoids the cliches and it makes it into reality, people. It's not that hard, but you won't see this film ranking up the box office numbers anytime soon, but I hope it's remembered come Oscar season. Now, there's more than just power dynamics and gender politics at play here. Romance, relationships, and everything are here, are ever present in this film. And unlike most long-term couples, even though they're both women, they still go through the same thing, that couples as they get older go through. It just doesn't seem, at least it seems like the spark is gone, and that many problems are afoot. Now, it's merely a background in this film. It's not a primary issue. They don't say, hoorah, hoorah, this is a lesbian rights film. No, it's not that at all. This is a rewritten formula that any other director or writer could have screwed up just as easily. The Kids Are Alright really takes off in the first half hour, and it really goes from there in the adventure as these characters just grow within the circumstances among them. This is one of the best films of the year. Annette Benning is unbelievably amazing here. Julianne Moore is very good as usual. Mark Ruffalo, also an awesome performance. And Mia Wasikowska really coming into her own as an actress here, as I said earlier. She just, she shows some talent in Alice in Wonderland, but she really breaks out here, in my opinion, in terms of her performance. I gotta say that everything's just close to perfection here in terms of the performances, and this movie is just a rewarding experience. I give The Kids Are Alright perfect 5.